The Sepang pit lane had barely woken up on the opening morning of the 2026 MotoGP test when a shockwave ripped through the paddock. Engines were warming, lap times were secondary, and yet all eyes were already off the track. Something far bigger than testing programs was unfolding behind closed doors. Whispers quickly turned into headlines. Contracts, not corner speeds, became the hottest currency in Malaysia. One by one, the established order of MotoGP's rider market for 2027 began to crumble, exposing tensions that many believed had been carefully hidden. By midday, the paddock was buzzing with a single explosive question. Is MotoGP on the brink of its biggest rider market scandal in years? And at the centre of the storm stand Fabio Quartararo, Jorge Martin, Francesco Bagnaia, and a Ducati camp suddenly facing chaos. On the first day of the Sepang MotoGP test for the 2026 season, the spotlight shifted dramatically away from lap times and technical upgrades, as astonishing news emerged regarding the rider market ahead of the 2027 campaign. The initial bombshell came with reports that Fabio Quartararo is finalizing a deal to join Honda, positioning himself as a cornerstone of the Japanese manufacturer's project ahead of MotoGP's new technical regulations. While official confirmation has yet to be made, the implications are enormous. Quartararo leaving Yamaha would mark the end of one of the most defining partnerships of the modern era and signal Honda's intent to return to the very top by any means necessary. Yamaha, however, did not sit still. Almost immediately, counter-reports surfaced suggesting that Jorge Martin is in advanced talks to replace Quartararo at the Japanese factory team, a move that, if confirmed, would completely reshape the grid's power balance and trigger a domino effect few had anticipated. Although neither Yamaha nor Honda has issued an official statement, the consequences are already being felt. Martin's potential departure would leave a vacant factory seat at Aprilia, and that vacancy may prove to be the most strategically important opening in the entire paddock. Enter Francesco Bagnaia. With Ducati's internal dynamics growing increasingly strained and pressure mounting from within its own star-studded lineup, Bagnaia's future at Borgo Panigale is no longer viewed as untouchable. Should Ducati choose a more ruthless direction, the reigning champion could find himself forced to explore alternatives, and Aprilia suddenly looks like a very real destination. Speaking in an interview, renowned MotoGP rider agent Alberto Vergani did little to calm the storm. Asked about the rapidly evolving rider market, the Italian was remarkably direct, urging his compatriot to seize the opportunity at no ale. "I would advise Pecco to focus on Aprilia because it would be the right environment for him," Vergani explained. "There is no tension there. There is harmony, and the project is ambitious, something Marco Bezzecchi has already demonstrated in his first year on the RSGP. Vergani went further, praising Aprilia CEO Massimo Rivola for building a stable, rider-focused structure capable of absorbing a star like Bagnaia. "I think Rivola has done an exceptional job, and Pecco would be the perfect complement to that project," he added. Crucially, this assessment exposes a growing contrast between Ducati and Aprilia. While Ducati remains the benchmark on track, its internal competition is ferocious, political, and unforgiving. Aprilia, by comparison, is increasingly seen as a manufacturer on the rise, fast, unified, and hungry. Vergani also acknowledged that Bagnaia is not the only name in play. Enea Bastianini was highlighted as another strong candidate should Ducati reshuffle its deck. Enea is a powerful rider and has shown his potential in the past, Vergani noted, echoing recent comments from Rivola himself. Indeed, Rivola recently admitted that Bagnaia is tempting for everyone, a statement that quietly confirms Aprilia's intent to think big rather than play it safe. This situation is not just about one rider changing teams, it is about power shifting across the entire MotoGP grid. If Quartararo moves to Honda, it legitimizes Honda's long-term rebuild. If Martin joins Yamaha, it signals Yamaha's willingness to gamble on raw aggression over stability. And if Bagnaia truly considers Aprilia, Ducati faces an unprecedented scenario, losing its most decorated rider not because of performance, but because of internal pressure. More importantly, MotoGP's 2027 regulation reset looms large over every decision. Riders are no longer choosing bikes for next season, they are choosing projects for the next era. In that context, Aprilia's appeal becomes clear. A less political garage, a clear technical direction, and a manufacturer willing to build around its lead rider rather than force internal wars. As Sepang testing continues, the lap charts may tell one story, but the real battle is happening in meeting rooms, hotel lobbies, and whispered phone calls late into the night. One thing is certain, MotoGP has entered a dangerous, dramatic, and deeply unpredictable phase. And when the dust finally settles, the grid in 2027 may look nothing like anyone expected. Behind the scenes, team principals are already recalculating their priorities. The sudden acceleration of the rider market has forced manufacturers to think less about loyalty and more about survival. In a championship increasingly defined by fine margins, a single contract decision could decide who dominates the new era and who fades into irrelevance. Ducati in particular finds itself at a crossroads. Long praised for its technical excellence, the Italian giant now faces a different challenge, managing egos, expectations, and political balance within a crowded garage. Losing Bagnaia would not merely be a sporting setback, it would be a symbolic fracture in the identity Ducati has carefully built over the past decade. From Aprilia's perspective, the timing could not be better. The Nola-based manufacturer has quietly transformed itself from an underdog into a credible title threat. With a stable leadership structure and a bike that rewards adaptability rather than brute force, Aprilia offers something increasingly rare in MotoGP: clarity of vision. For Bagnaia, the choice, should it become real, will not be simple. Staying at Ducati guarantees competitiveness, but demands constant internal warfare. Moving to Aprilia, meanwhile, would represent a leap of faith into a project still evolving, yet one that promises influence, leadership, and a team fully aligned around him. Yamaha's situation is no less complex. Replacing Quartararo with Martin would mark a dramatic shift in philosophy. Where Yamaha once built around smoothness and precision, Martin embodies aggression, risk, and relentless intensity. Whether that pairing would flourish or fracture remains one of the most fascinating, unanswered questions of this unfolding saga.